Black Friday is here, and of course, every company is going to be chucking discounts at you left, right, and centre. And our friends at Manscaped are no different. Usually, we give you 20% off with the code FM Show, but because it's Black Friday and Cyber Monday, you know what? Have an extra 5%. Make it 25%. 25% off site-wide and free worldwide shipping. That means you get 25% off anything. It could be the lawnmower, it could be the beard hedger, it could be the handyman, the weed whacker, the boxer shorts, the ball toner, the ball deodorant, the beard conditioner. I mean, you know what? Maybe, because Christmas is coming, maybe treat yourself to the performance package. Get the whole thing, 25% off and free worldwide shipping. If you've never used Manscaped before, seriously, now is the time to try it, okay? Join us and over 9 million men who have put their grooming in the hands of Manscaped. Seriously, I use this stuff all the time. I absolutely love it. The boxer shorts are the best boxer shorts you will ever own. I tell you right now, they're so comfortable, okay? And you know what? There's nothing nicer than a little spray down there with a bit of ball toner. It's Christmas. Give a little treat for everything. And Manscaped are giving you that treat right now. 25% off. Unlock the confidence. And remember, you can always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. Hello everyone, welcome to the FM show. I am of course your host Tony Jameson, and welcome to another bumper-packed episode. And joining me as always is the one and only RDF Tactics and producer Steve. Fellas, how are we?
I'm doing fantastically well. I'm not sure what's going on with the kids at the moment, so we are doing early wake-ups. They're waking up 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm off my stream at like midnight, so I'm running off little sleep these days, but when it comes to recording, I'm very active, up and ready for today's chat.
Yeah, kids can do that. I mean, we were talking before about bugs and illnesses, and I was like, please have and illnesses as the next bit, because we don't be talking about video game and bugs. So, Steve, how about yourself? You've not got early wake-up calls, I presume.
No, although we do have a new kitten, and we got to the point where we had to just shut her in the room overnight because she was like jumping on us at 3 or 4 in the morning, and doing the usual meow meow sort of thing. So we've now got a new. It's more generous. It's more 7 or 8 o'clock, but she's called Bobby, and we do have a new Bobby alarm when she decides that actually she does want some attention. So it's so not as bad as that. So,
no. Spot the actual parents on the podcast sighing at the 7 o'clock. God, what line that would be.
Well, look, God forbid my saying it was a choice that you make, guys. But
literally there. Jet black hair now. I don't know what's going on.
We can see the salt and pepper here anyway. But
I've been the hairline's receding as well. The hairline's receding. I'm growing it so you don't notice that. Just put the headphones there.
But no, I mean, in Football Manager
parenting show.
Yes, quite. Yeah, should we actually talk about what we're here to talk about? Yeah, but in terms of the because no one cares about your personal life, Aaron. That's the. They want to hear about the tactics, not about your. But yeah,
that sounds going well.
Yeah, this is it. In terms of various save sort of things. Fiorentina still kicking away nicely in the background. Yeah, I'm sort of dueling the two at the moment, just in terms of because again, I'm really enjoying it as a next season. A big investment in the previous summer, a lot of turnaround, a lot of young players. Those young players are maturing. We've upgraded too, and it's feeling like a title challenge is there. We're winning games, tough games. That sometimes we would draw because we drew 9 games the previous season, and. Just really enjoyable. And so that helps me when the sort of contemplating trying to do mid-table mediocrity is a good achievement with Everton is on my horizon.
And we look forward to seeing how that gets on as well, of course, as you give up success and you come to the dark side, Steve. Come to the side where trophies are just a dream. Just
the beige side. That's the thing. It's like,
yeah, there is that. It's just just existence. Just how's FM 23? Great. What did you win?
Nothing.
Aaron, what about yourself? I mean, last time we spoke. I even forget. Last time we spoke, you were in Spain, and then you got a football shirt that was from Germany. So presumably now you're in what, Malta or something?
So last week I was speaking about the Spanish Save Union ADAV in Madrid. So I'm actually a bit upset about this. So we come across an issue, and actually there was sort of one way to fix it, and that was to buy the in-game editor. But in my head, that's like really last resort, and it can break immersion a little bit if you're using an in-game editor. But we had this issue where I couldn't hand over my responsibilities to the youth team, and I thought I could kind of just stick through it. But then in my head, I was like, realistically, are we going to play 10 odd seasons of managing the first team, the B team, and the under 19s? To be fair, we weren't really managing, but it was just the annoyance that before, every time they played, I would have to sort their team out and then press. I have a skin, so I'm using instant result. That kind of a quick way just to get past that, so I don't have to sit there and literally play it. But it did start to become an annoyance, and then we did have a fix of using the in-game editor to try and get a different manager to completely be a manager, because for our wage thing, we could only offer out £200, but there wasn't a single staff member around the world that would accept under £200, so we couldn't actually buy an under 19s manager, and the only other way was to do it was to actually use the editor, which we didn't want to do. So then I thought, you know what, I'm going to start a new save. I've got my top pod as well, and guess what, Tony? I realised that episode weren't out yet, so I couldn't start the save. Yeah, so I couldn't tell people, this is what come in the box, because everyone's supposed to be waiting for it, right?
It's not really a surprise, is it? No. Famously.
Tony, I honestly got prepared, so I had it on, the shirt on.
You loved
so I
it.
had
You loved that shirt.
Yeah, I had the start and soon screen on, so I went downstairs to make a cup of tea, and it was only then I figured out, oh my God, it's a surprise shirt, and the episode's not out. So I came back upstairs running, the stream started, and it was like, lads, I really enjoy Italy. But in my head, I don't have an idea. So I just let the chat just scream stuff out. It was Palermo, Parma, and Bari. That was the free selection, and we just went for the biggest stadium, San Nicola in Bari. So we went there, and things have been going pretty well. We got promoted in our first season. Second season, the first 11 games. So we spoke about relegation before, and sometimes you've just got to, like, when you feel like it's coming, you just got to accept it. And everything that we was doing, nothing was working. I mean, we was getting 1-0 up, and we're like, it's turning around, boys. And then my right back, boom, 2-foot challenge someone, sent off. The game turns around, 3-2. We was getting that sort of luck. So it was like 12 games in, 1 win, 11 losses. which is out. So we was playing Inter Milan. And the match momentum was like, it was horrible. It was 0-0, but it was like every minute into highlight. So I thought, we can't do this cautious thing. Let's just try and flip the switch. So I went very attacking to try and just switch the momentum momentarily, so then I can kind of wheel it back again. But then they scored instantly, and I was like, I can't believe this. As soon as I changed my mentality, they scored. We took kickoff and went and scored up the other end. I was like, hold on, boys, hold on. Then we went 2-1 up. And it was like, what do we do? Do we stick? And I'm just looking, I'm like, we're sticking. And yeah, they equalised in the last minute. But then it was that thought of things, like something clicked when we were more positive. And then I changed to more attacking, and I changed my wing backs to attack. Tony, we then went on an 11-game winning streak. I don't know what happened. We beat Lazio 4-1 away. We beat Milan away. We beat Inter, all these teams. And we're looking at each other like, what's going on? It was funny because the next day, so we did qualify for Europe, the Conference League, literally on the last day as well. So then the next stream, I remember people coming back thinking, what's happened here? You was just fighting relegation and now you're buying players for Europe. And I'm just like, I don't know what's happened. I think the moment, there's momentum swinging matches. I felt that my whole save had a momentum swing. But I did message you as well, because I was thinking, I think the opposite has happened. So, when the new patch comes out and everybody's like, oh, my tactic doesn't work anymore. So the update happened, and then all of a sudden, we just couldn't stop winning. Yeah. So I was like, FM, please do not change this update. I don't know what happened. We just didn't stop winning. Yeah. And we were just loving life.
Yeah, the message Aaron sent me was the updates happened and my tactic is now better. And I was like, oh, great. Thank God for that. Great to see you struggle, innit? Only winning 75 out of 76 games,
Yeah, so we had that season, and the third season, we're going to tweak stuff. Third season, we are finding it a bit difficult, more difficult to be fair, where things seem like it's starting to even up now. So before we was overachieving massively in games, but now it feels like it's definitely starting to even out. The games are more balanced now. We're not steamrolling teams. If we do win, sometimes it's a scrape, or they grab a last-minute equaliser. So it is starting to balance itself out now. In Season 3, I do wonder if teams now have not necessarily clocked my formation, but my reputation has grown, and they've now got to approach me differently, and we haven't made enough changes, honestly, to kind of combat that.
So, but it's also a thing with Serie A as well. Tony. Sorry, Steve. It's that thing with this is 100% where your wheelhouse right now, Steve.
Yeah.
This is the thing with Serie A as well, is that it's so balanced. Like there's so many teams that can nick a point off you. It's like the Championship. Like it's not like the Premier League where there's 3 teams who can win it. Serie A, Steve, as you know, you can. It's the top half essentially, isn't it? And then the bottom half are just going to go right. We're fighting for everything, so we're going to nick a point as well.
Yeah, I mean, especially where Juve are at the moment in terms of they were been a dominant team and were for a long time. You know, Napoli this season have just, boy. But I was
going to say, sorry, last I must say, because something really exciting did happen, the playoffs. So it got to like 38. So Inter won the league with 78 points, which like you said, is very bad.
Low,
78 points, I feel, is very low. But it got to the last game, 38, and everyone's played, but there's no C sign, like the champion sign next to the team name. So I was like, my game's broken. What's going on? And then I realized, and then I just saw, because they're on level of points, it was Inter versus Fiorentina in the playoffs final. Yeah, and Inter did win it. Inter did win it 1-0. 1-0. But that was quite exciting to see that in a save and you not involved in that. Because we've done this weird thing as well. We started to go into other games because we were heavily relied on other results to come through as well for us to qualify in Europe. So we started finding ourselves going into games like Sampdoria versus Milan and hoping Sampdoria can get a win. So we're just there watching it, sitting back. And then, there was one game, Leao scored an absolute screamer. Yeah. It is fun
going and watching those other games that do have such a massive bearing on how your save
on
goes
your
as
team,
well.
So that's how I say
there was the last Scudetto, one of my 22 Fiorentina save actually, because it's been a drought 4 seasons now without Scudetto, and people start to question me.
Hanky out.
Still finished second and won the Coppa Italia, but still, there you go. People want more.
Hanky can have a bit more time. Trust the process.
And we ended up by quirk of the fixture list playing Inter on the final game of the 38 season, and I had to beat them. A draw, they would have won the title. If I'd have beaten them, then I win it. And of course, 2-0 win Fiorentina, final game of the season, flips on its head. haven't won it since. So yeah. And Barry, you mentioned the the stadium size, Aaron. So they're playing in Serie B at the start of the game, right?
Yeah.
The Stadio San Nicola has 58,000 person capacity.
Yeah, massive.
Ooh, massive.
Never filled, but massive. We're still not filling it now in Serie A. I'm going to give it a few years, but it's actually quite interesting because it's 58,000. That's a lot. So I believe we can go quite some years without actually having to do anything with our stadium, especially having to spend any finances on improving our stadium and making it bigger, because we still have to fill what we've got now.
No,
I don't believe so. No,
it
it was built for the Italia 90. No,
it was. Yeah, so you might do a bit of maintenance. It's probably not been touched since then.
I'm not a fat guy, by the way. I just know that because someone said it in the chat. So.
But it's the 3rd biggest stadium in Italy.
Okay.
Wow.
Can you name? I mean, if you can't, which of the other 2?
San Siro.
Is it the same stadium?
And the Stadio Olimpico.
Yeah. There you go.
Oh.
Yeah.
Tony knows.
The F in my name stands for facts. Oh, wait, no, we don't need that. No,
right then.
Facts manager.
Well, facts manager. That's the real quiz. Welcome on. So that's Italy. Italy, of course, Aaron out smashing through Italy. I am currently in a Greek odyssey, which, to be fair, is so much fun, Steve. It's so much fun. I've not done Build a Nation before. Aaron started one, built it in 3 weeks and just left, right? Okay. I am here for the long haul. We finished season 1 and we were expected to finish mid-table. Now, the Greek 2nd division is 2 divisions, north and south, okay? So going up is the league winners of each of those 2 splits. Then there's a playoff, okay? And you can potentially go up there as well. There's also then the relegation areas, and all the B teams for like AEK, Olympiacos, Panathinaikos, and PAOK Salonika, they can't go up at all. They have to stay in the 2nd division. Or in the 3rd division, as Panathinaikos and Olympiacos were relegated. So they are out of the 2nd division. So we finished the league, right? Okay, we finished 3rd overall, which is pretty good. We were well happy with that. That's not what we were expecting to do. We brought in a 39-year-old Carlos Camini to cover for our injured goalkeeper. Did I mention the goalkeeper issue? I did,
Goalkeeper,
didn't
I
I?
was gonna say the
Yeah.
goalkeeper. Yeah.
So obviously we started the real world scenario, and of course our goalkeeper was injured at that point. So I was like, right, we'll try our best. We got to the transfer window and Carlos Camini was still available. And I was like, he's as good as anyone we're going to get at this level. And I was wrong, because he was not very good, actually. he let things. I was like, surely Carlos Camini is going to be brilliant. And it was a bit hit and miss, really. I think you can see like 45 goals in like 30 games or something, which I guess in a sense isn't that bad. But there was a couple of moments where, like, mate, you should be saving that. Like, come on, you should be digging us out of the hole here. I know, but
Maybe it's the agility.
His agility's like -4, right? So it's like, if he went down, he literally needed help getting back up. That was that sort of thing. So Camini came in, right? He was fine. We had some good players in there, like our foreign players, because our non-EU players, I should probably refer to them as, were probably a cut above everyone else. We had a player called Zarate, who's a striker. We had Mario, who I can't pronounce his surname, not Zarate, like the Birmingham Zarate.
Yeah.
It's a guy called Tobias Zarate. He's an Argentinian striker.
Yeah.
He scored like 17 goals or something.
Great.
There's a striker called Mario, and I'm still not going to attempt to pronounce his surname, but he used to play for Hamilton Accies, and he's now playing up front for us. He scored about 20 goals, so I started referring to him as Super Mario. So obviously I did the Super Mario Brothers theme tune whenever he scored. And we had another Uruguayan called Pedroso, who was excellent. And we had 2 players called Papa Giorgio. Okay, one was 36 and one was 32. And I don't think they're related, right? Because their favoured personnels didn't have each other's names.
Could still be related.
37-year-old.
Could still be related.
Well, possibly, yeah. Good point, actually. Yeah.
Not if you're a football manager. It has to be in FM information, and it has to be favoured personnel. And I don't care if I actually know in real life your brothers. To me, you're not. If FM don't have it,
yeah, family can be tricky.
The 37-year-old was incredible. Like, he had a right season at right back, playing alongside Socrates, the lad who used to play for Arsenal. The 35-year-old defender.
Yeah, I saw that signing.
Got him on a free, so he was pretty good.
Yeah.
But long story short, right, we missed out on promotion. Okay, so right, fine, let's dust ourselves down. We'll go again. We're going to start talking about this as the main part of the show, so it's going to make sense. We then start planning for next season. Okay, all of our players suddenly decide they don't want to play for us next season. So our squad planning begins with a tactic that has 5 players in it, and 2 of them are goalkeepers.
I saw this. Yeah, I saw this when he was on the planning screen, and I saw that. I was like, "Oops."
Well, it's fine. Let's have a look at the youth intake situation, shall we? That'll help for Build a Nation. The worst youth intake that had ever come. It's fine. We know our way around Build a Nation. We know how the league structure works. Hello, we're the Greek FA. We've changed the league structure this season. What?
So everything's just happening all in one.
Yeah.
It's really one window.
So it's no longer North and South. The second division is now the second division. And it's the second division only. And there's only 2 promotion spots.
How many teams?
40.
40?
No, sorry, 20. Sorry, yeah, 20 and 38 league games, yeah.
Right. That's all confusing.
It's just got a bit more difficult.
And this is your idea of fun then, Tony, in terms of...
Oh, yeah. Because at first, I think I mentioned this to Aaron off camera. You know how you do the end of season meeting?
Yeah.
Like, and our board, we'd finished 3rd, and our board went, right, so next season, please avoid relegation. I'm like, yeah, okay, cool, that sounds brilliant. Presumably because they knew there was no players going to still be there. And I walked into the meeting and went, right, lads, here's the situation. And it gives you the options of like what you can click. And I was like, right, we're going to click expectations for next season. They went, all right, we'd love to hear what you've got to say. And I sort of went, I don't really know what I am going to say. So obviously there's the option of, I'm not going to say anything. So I went, yeah, that's all fine. Like, see you later, lads. And they went, oh yeah, champion, cheers, gaffer. Bye now. And they were all really happy. I said nothing. So I was like, they know that they're not here next year, don't they? They don't care what I'm about to say. It's like, hey, you know, that Simpsons griff when the Grandpa Simpson walks in and then walks straight back out. It was like that.
Yeah.
That was my end of season meeting. So we'll update on that next episode. And of course, we'll talk more about how we plan the squad. But just to say, Steve, yeah, Build a Nation is fun. And I have I have a little treat, by the way, for our patrons, which I'll mention in a second. We should actually say thank you to the patrons, by the way, who've come and joined this week. Daniel Shaw and Neil Warren have joined the Patreon squad, so thank you very much for them. They will be getting themselves on access to some bonus content as part of the FM24 journey. Bonus content being access to my save file for the Builder Nation setups. You can literally play it through the same time as me. I've given you the day one file, I've given you the end of season one file, I've given you a skin, I've given you some views. Come and join us. If you want to come and do that, that's extra content for you, and you can join the scouting because it's going to be tricky, this one. So that's my thank you to the patrons. And I need to say another thank you, by the way, to John Toll from BBC Radio Ulster, because he was very kind and he let me go on their radio show last weekend to talk about FM24. So that was really, really nice.
Daytime Tony.
Daytime Tony. Weekend BBC Tony Jameson. That's where we are. Talking about managing Banbridge United, Banbridge Town, last season on FM23. So love that. John's not a player himself, but I do have to say a huge shout out to Daniel, who's the producer. Now we've got a producer, Daniel, Steve. Who is a big fan of the show. So big shout out to Daniel for, of course, getting us involved. And if we do have any listeners over the water in Northern Ireland, and of course I'm sure we probably do, please make yourselves known, because we're looking out for more potential venues for live shows. So do, of course, let us know if that's something that you might be interested in. Hello everyone, Tony here. Hope you're enjoying the episode. And if you are enjoying the episode, then maybe you might consider signing up to support us on Patreon, Aaron.
Yes. And we can't just leave it there. I think we should tell them more. What are we offering?
Okay, right. So Patreon, if you don't know what Patreon is a way of supporting the FM show as a podcast, if you can afford it. We must stress if you can afford it, okay?
Yes.
If you want to sign up, become a member of the FM show team, you can do so from as little as £3 a month. And Aaron, what are we going to give them in return?
Exclusive content, some of my favorite things, but also a Patreon shout out. We'll get some bonus episodes given to you. I believe as well you get some Discord benefits. Am I right?
There's Discord benefits, absolutely. There's a little private secret channel in there where only the Patreons can talk, where they get maybe they get some heads up on things that we're going to start making in the future as well. We've started putting save files in for certain tiers. You might hear about live show tickets early doors because, you know, we've got a live show on now. We might have more in the future, and we're going to let our Patreons know about that first.
Oh, yes. And even if you're struggling a bit on Football Manager, we will be doing a monthly Q&A for FM24.
Absolutely, and there's going to be loads more stuff as well, potentially things like me and Aaron going up against each other on versus mode. It's going to be the place to be. If you can afford to support the podcast, please do. From as little as £3 a month, you can go and visit patreon.com/the FM Show Pod to become a member of the FM Show squad. Speaking of stuff you might be interested in, last episode we touched upon responsibilities, delegation, expectation, club culture, and finances. There was a bit going on last week. No wonder you forgot you hadn't already unboxed your shirt, Aaron. This week, we can take a look at squad planning. I've already built up to it there. This is the situation, which I love this moment of the game. This is the best bit, the end of season. I'm not fussed about the actual start with the transfers. Now, I like the second part. End of season, start building that squad. Now, it's been fresh in my mind. Obviously, we've spent 2 streams doing it right now. Okay. So, question I've got for both of you: how do you approach it? And how does it differ from how I do it? Okay. Now, are you pens and paper or are you squad planners?
I'll let Steve answer first because I kind of have to think about my answer because I genuinely just do it differently everywhere I am. Every season it's slightly different.
Do you ever get to the end of a season, Aaron? Or have you already just like sort of halfway through going, I think I'm completed this, so just move on?
Well, obviously... sorry, Aaron, you go. Yeah.
No, sorry. Generally, the first thing I would do, for those who are listening, I will have actually my Barry save up on the screen because this is very lucky where we've actually just finished the season. So you can see the Inter beating Fiorentina result here as well. 1-0.
Huge.
Yeah, so here you can actually see sort of my process and what I was beginning to do and obviously the stuff that I will need to do. For those who are watching can see that I've got 5 loan players and automatically for me, I have to replace those. So what I would do is kind of see what my best team was. I go into my tactics. I always save what my opinion of my best team is. And then I kind of look and see who needs replacing for the next season, sort of thing. So that's how I start plugging gaps. So for an example, Conor Bradley won't be here. Gaetano won't be here. He will be because we've actually signed him on a free transfer. But for video-wise and podcast-wise, he won't be there. We also have Diomande as well, who won't be there. Now, that's 4 players already from my first 11 or 3 players, sorry, from my first 11 that are gone. Oh, we've actually got a 4th player. So that's 4 players, sorry, from my first 11 that's already gone. So automatically I know now in the summer I do have to look to replace those players. Now, it might be loan again, depending on my financial situation. I've only got 5 million and we've also qualified for Europe. So already in my head, I'm thinking about looking to use loans again because we ain't going to be able to better our squad in 4 positions using £5 million and be a European team. So we are going to be looking at loans again. And now already,
Aaron, I'm just wondering at what point the whole kind of me answering the question first, this falls under.
Sorry. I just had to get that bit out of the way in case I forgot. But that's sort of that's like my step 1, and then
Your
after
scene
that,
set.
Yeah, and then after that, it kind of depends on if I want to go for youngsters or if I need to improve another area in my team. So there are different steps after that, but that is generally the first step because then that's the priority. I need to make sure I've got a good 11 for next season. Sorry.
This is going back to the original cut of Aaron answering for us, isn't it?
Yeah.
How are you both? We're well, thank you.
What Steve means is,
Steve will have the bolognese, won't you, Steve?
So since Aaron set that up for me,
Steve, how do you do squad planning?
Yeah. Well, the crucial difference, of course, as we're talking about, is obviously I'm going from FM22 to 24. And so there obviously was a version of squad and squad planning, etc., on FM22. But I still do this. So this is. Have we got the same notepad? I think we might do. The ring binder's the same.
No, mate. Yeah.
Is there any confidential information there? No. There you go. Good. Yeah, the ring binders. Anyway. No, we do. How funny. But basically, this is my last Fiorentina one because I'm just sort of trying out the FM24 digital versions, which we'll get onto in a second. But yeah, so kind of different to Aaron's point in terms of like when you're going from one season to the next, it's slightly different. So I've got things like these are the guys that I've already got, and you know, so it's stay, sell, etc. But it is, I don't know if you're able to see that on the camera. It is kind of laid out like you can see the goalkeeper, defender, etc. laid out as squad planner has it. When it comes to a brand new save, it's not dissimilar in regards to as a main rule, 2 players per position from a depth perspective. Again, coming from with Everton in mind, Premier League, so 1 game a week, maybe sometimes twice a week, depending on the cups. So even then, actually with Everton, I think I might drop it down a bit. So if I've got a player, just looking at this squad, for example, something like Ben Godfrey is quite versatile. So I might be able to go, actually, I can have 7 defenders across the 4 positions because I've got a Ben Godfrey or an Ashley Young who can cover it. You know, we're playing once a week, basically. So I do start with, especially with Everton, when they've got £1 million transfer budget, I'm going to start with who can I get rid of? That's kind of where I sort of look at it. Who can I get rid of? Where can I get some cash from before I'm even really thinking about? And also, where are my strength players? So looking at Everton, brand new save. I haven't got a lot of wriggle room. It's part of the challenge. I'm looking at the stars, but not too much, not learning overly. However, guys like Decore, Calvert-Lewin, you know, even Beto. Everton is a squad, quite a narrow squad. They've got a really strong core centrally and a pretty decent midfield, you know, with Anana, James Garner, Idrissa Gueye, as examples. But then there's basically no wingers really in terms of like the comparative quality. Even someone like Jack Harrison's quite good, can operate narrow as well. So who I can sort of chip away, get rid of. For actually with the Everton side specifically, they've already sold quite a few people. So that would be my starting point in terms of who can go first.
It's interesting that you've done that first of all. So obviously thinking about this. So last week, for example, our listeners and viewers, we went through things like the squad depth on the chart, so you can see where your squad comparison, rather than squad depth. We've done squad comparison screens before, so you can see where you're like in comparison to other teams in your league. And I'm taking a bit of what you've said there, Steve. I'm taking a bit of what Aaron said. So I sort of fall between those two areas. So I'm like you in the fact that obviously you've just seen that I've got my pens and paper. I will write out position-wise. So I'll go, right, goalkeeper. Who's he, right? Is he my starter? Is he my backup? Are we getting rid? And I'd work it down at that first. Then I go back into it. I then look at what the game thinks they are. So I've done my initial eyeball test and what I think. Then I've compared it to what the game says. Because sometimes the game can go, actually, you're pretty good. And I'm like, oh, I didn't think I was. Or maybe it's the other thing. I'm going, we're pretty good here. And then I look at it, I'm like, we are going to get relegated really quickly. And I work out where my failings might be. I look at my inbuilt DNA that I give to my players as well. So again, I'm trying to sort of work that out. And then from that point on, if I can start to move into that squad planner, if I've identified players that I think I might be looking to get out, if I go into the squad planner right now, Aaron, presuming, of course, you've already picked your tactic, because that's probably a bit of a thing. If you have your tactic already loaded up, you can then actually put your players as per your tactic into the squad planner. Now, what's interesting with it, last year, of course, the squad planner was here. It has improved from last year in FM23. You can have this year's view and you can have next year's view. Okay, so the idea being you want to then start to look to add your youngsters in. So, you know, hey, I've got a kid in the youth system. He might be quite good. Put him in later. We'll put him in for next year's view. We're not going to talk about that just yet. Okay, we'll talk about this year right now. Now, Steve, you mentioned a really, really good point there. Utility players. Okay, I love utility players, particularly in our Greece save at the minute. We need utility players because Aaron's talking about 5 million quid, and I'm going like, what? And even Steve, you're talking £1 million. I'm like, hang on, no, we paid a signing on fee. Like this is where we are. And so we're looking at filling those gaps, those utility players. Now, what I've noticed on this year's game, Steve, this is a bit of a sort of heads up for yourself. Aaron, you've probably already seen it. If you put, for me, Aaron, can you put 2 players into one position, just anywhere you fancy, okay? And maybe put who you would have as your first choice, maybe put them second, and then put your backup player first, okay? So, so if you do that, okay? Now, you see the little dots down the side to the left-hand side of the player's name. That allows you to move those players up and down in terms of preference and priority. Now, that's not preference and priority in your squad. Okay, so it doesn't change their happiness. If you've got a player who's upset because they're not playing games, you move them up on the priority on that squad planner list. That's not going to make any difference. What that is that allows you to work out who you think on the best day, who is my number one right back, who is my number one midfielder. Like, and it's almost so if I had to rank my players in order of preference per position, this is where they'd be. And then I start to stack them underneath. And I only really go for 2. I go for 3, maybe if I've got someone who can cover all the positions, but I put them at the bottom. But I tend not to put the youth players in there until maybe the end of the season. Aaron, any advice on that? Do you reckon?
Yeah, I agree. So I'm just looking at my squad planner. It's actually quite all over the place. And maybe I should be looking at this because I'm also seeing some useful things. So there's actually, so in your squad planner, when you click squad planner on the left, if you haven't set up your tactic, it will ask you to please set your tactic first before accessing the squad planner once you've set your tactic. Now, there's actually a thing called team average ability. Of course, this is your assistant's opinion, but I actually never saw this before. So my team average ability is 2 stars. So we've got European football with a 2-star team. This is quite crazy, but I do agree with your approach. It's something that I would do similar, and which, again, like if you're, for those who are watching, my team is already kind of sorted in that way. So I've got my main striker, I've then got the backup, and then I've just got the youngster behind him. And that's sort of my planning without using the squad planner. So that's how I would plan without the squad planner, which is, So we actually are planning similarly, obviously with mine without the squad planner, but I do think I'm okay with the squad planner until I do look at it and then I realize, I didn't, that kind of missed my head. So for an example, if I do go to next season, I've got one right back already who's Omar Traore. Now, already in my head, he's actually not that good. He's already a backup to a backup sort of player. Now, if I saw this, maybe I would have possibly bought a right back and then, the centre back that can also play right back sort of thing. I think that would have been my thought process, but I just bought a right back, which now in game we are struggling with because it's a big drop off, right? So my main right back plays, he gets injured, it's a big drop off. And then we're using wing back on attack, so he's actually fairly important. So again, if I used the squad planner before I entered that season, I would have actually approached that differently. I do believe that. So actually, the squad planner is something that I might have to start looking at.
I mean, for that scenario right there, that's what I've found it useful for, Steve, because you'll have done this, because we've all done this pre-squad planner days, and some of us still do this. I still do this. Right? You buy this. Right? You buy players that you need, and then you go, oh, but he's on a free transfer. And you bring another one and you're like, oh God, I'm now overloading that position. Like,
oh man.
So the squad planner, right? If you take anything from this podcast today, this is the bit you need to be taking, okay? Is look into your next season that Aaron's just done there. Take out the players you're selling or the players you don't want to use next season. There's a little, as you click the add button, which is on the right-hand side. This is how you add your players into that area. You look for, there's best fit, there's positions, and there's also a little one called shortlist there. Now, what you can do is you can put the player that you think you're signing, if he's already on your shortlist, of course, you can put him into the squad planner for next season. So you know that you've already made an approach for a player in that position, or you know that person's already coming in.
Yeah,
so you
especially
look
if you
at
sign him free transfer. If
you've got the transfer already agreed, then you can look at it and go, oh, I've already bought a left wing back, but unfortunately, there's someone who's better. I can't believe I went too early. There's someone actually was better further down the line. Right. Can I afford to sell my backup left wing back now and move the player I'm bringing to the backup? So that's what I would do. That's my little bit of advice for you.
Because also as well, so actually just to sort of navigate this, as always, left-hand side, all the things going on. Squad planner. This is again new from a FN22-24 experience in a way, which is quite handy. When you scroll through it, current season, next season, season after, it colour codes it too. So Everton are very much a squad built for this season. There's a drop off very soon in terms of players that either retire or are away from loan out of contract. So you'll see it helps you illustrate the profile of the kind of team you've got. Whereas other teams, bigger squads, better planned, to be completely honest. Because Everton, weirdly, even though they're Premier League side, they feel like they're structured a bit like a football league side in terms of they are there for like short-termism. Yeah. So it's really
and that's completely fine, because there's some saves which you do just have a short-term view of. You are just going in and firefighting. If, for example, you're in a relegation battle, there's no point filling that team full of wonder kids. You just need players for the here and now, really. Or if you want players to just break into that top six, if you can, you maybe only have one roll of a dice at it. These players are at the peak of their powers right now, and it's a now or never situation. So what is also quite handy on that planner is there's numbers next to each position, and that is a little reminder of how many players can fill in that position. It sounds really common sense, to be honest, but it's a nice little aid memoir for, rather than clicking at every position going, I wonder how many players I've got. It's already there for you. What I will say is that we are saying it's works with regards to your tactic and planning, because that makes complete logical sense. It's not role specific. So if, for example, you've got 3 midfielders, say for Aaron, you've got maybe one sat in the DM position, you've maybe got 2 in the central areas. That doesn't differentiate as to whether you're looking for a box-to-box midfielder, a Mazzala, a central midfielder, a playmaker. It just says 2 midfielders in that central space. So when you're putting your order of priority of players, it might not necessarily make a lot of visual sense to you if you like those things very specific by going, well, right, he's an advanced playmaker. Why does he have to sit in the position where the attacking midfielder is? Well, okay, or the centre midfielder on attack would go, he's not actually a centre midfielder on attack, but he would go in that position. Like strikers, for example, you might have an advanced forward, but then you've got like a pressing forward, or a target forward, or a deep line forward, and you sort of, but the game would just recognise a forward player. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and it does. There is also a role ability. So you do have obviously in your tactic you got set, but you can. So there's in squad planner you've got the option to switch between ability, depth, and role as well. And this is where you can actually look at the role ability. But again, it's not saying a thing like Gianluca Gaetano, for an example, who we're looking at. It's just an attacking midfielder on attack. that might not necessarily be his best role or whatever it is, but it's just showing me that he's just there as an attacking midfielder, like Tony said, and then it's just got like a little role ability star. And obviously, again, this is all down to your assistant or your coach's opinion. So there's not exactly, it's more of a visual thing rather than this is the Gaetano in attacking midfield, advanced playmaker, he's 5-star. No, it's just Gianluca Gaetano as attacking midfielder, and then it will be sorted this way. Now, if you're new actually to your club and you don't quite have an idea of who you should be putting as your priority defensive midfielder or your priority centre back, if you just want an idea, a slight reference, over on the right hand side, you can actually just ask your assistant, and you can ask him to suggest or ask them to suggest current position, a current tactic, to suggest the current season, or just suggest for everything, which again is a great tool. So when I joined Bari, of course, I don't watch Serie B in real life. I'm not familiar. And this is something that, again, I could have made useful. And this is actually a very good podcast for me, episode for me, because I'm realizing certain mistakes. I noticed why I've made certain mistakes. So like Tony said, you get to a point where I've signed my 4 players, my priority players, but then it got to a point as, hey, I've got a little bit of spare wages. Oh, he's free. Oh, he's free. Just sign him. Now, consciously, I knew, or subconsciously, I knew I needed a left-footed centre-back, possibly can play left back, like I mentioned earlier. And guess what? Without noticing, I bought 2 on the exact same day. And it's only because there were 3 transfers. Now, in the season, it's a mistake because I've got 2 left-sided centre-backs who I don't need because both of them are backups anyway. And then I've only got 2 wingers.
And so now you're causing unnecessary potential carnage in the dressing room. Those 2 guys are going, hey, Gaffer, you've brought us both in.
There's quite a few fallouts from this. So I'm playing Europa League games where I need to sort of rotate. And it's like I'm getting to this point where I'm like, okay, I've got healthy options at the back. I've got 2 left-footed centre-backs I could choose from. I don't know why I would need that at this point. But then at the winger role, I can't actually rotate because no one else can play winger. If I use squad planner, I wouldn't have signed that second left-footed centre-back and I would have went with a winger instead that can possibly play both left and right and both feet. But I didn't look at the squad planner. I didn't know what I needed. I was just working from my head, and there's only so much information this big head can take.
The good thing is, though, Aaron, because you're right, like, and we all take away moments from this podcast where we go, of course, like, because you play the game for so long, you play it the way that you play it, and you think, well, this is how it is. Like, it's like driving. Like, you just drive. You're just like, that's how I drive. Like, but if you were to go back and do a driving test again, you'd be like, oh, that's how I'm supposed to do it, is it? Okay, interesting.
That's how I'm supposed to turn. Not like that.
Like, what the interesting thing with this is, of course, with the squad depth, it really like leans in with regards to the recruitment planner and the recruitment focus and all these things. So you go, right, okay, I've got a gap here. Right, let's go and put my specific recruitment focus on that gap. And you're saying, Aaron, about we're looking at, the staff's view of players and that's their sort of view and you're not looking at anything factual. Well, I'll give you somewhere that's factual. Go look in the data hub or go look at the league breakdown of player detailed stats. And that's right there. That's when you know exactly who your good players are and who your bad players are. Because you might look at a player and you think, oh, you know what, they've had a terrible season. We've all done it. We've looked at a player and they've had a terrible season, sold them off, and then realized that what they were giving us was exactly what we haven't been able to replace. And again, remembering what they do. So I had a player in my Greece save. We looked at him. I was like, well, hang on, he was playing box-to-box midfield. Okay. He'd only weighed in with 2 assists and 1 goal or something. And I was going, I thought he was giving me more because every highlight is him on the ball. But then I looked deeper into the stats and I was like, he's breaking up play. He's pulling others. He's pulling space. He's being energetic. He's allowing the team to play, essentially. So I looked beyond that original stat of how much is he contributing. And I was actually then looking at, well, actually, his distance covered is really good. His dribbles is really good. His interception is really good. His blocks are really good. I'm like, oh, he's actually doing everything a box-to-box midfielder needs to do. And I'm going, why have you not got me 10 assists and 9 goals? Because that's not his job.
Yes, 100%. 100%. Yeah.
I'm most guilty of this. I am most guilty of this because for those who are watching, you can see on the YouTube as well, I'm looking at my data hub and I'm looking at tackling. So we've got a left back called Julian Audi. And so in certain highlights, it just feels like he's not doing enough. He's not tackling enough. He's not engaging enough. So again, it's one of those things that I'm like, I'm looking at a left back and I'm thinking, what can I do for this left back? But well, I'm only watching key highlights. I'm not watching the 90 minutes. And it just so happens I'm watching those moments where he misses that one tackle throughout the whole game, and it's cost us, but it's generally the right back has lost more tackles than left back. And then I'm looking at the data now, my left back, when it comes to defenders and we're looking at tackling, he's actually in a lot of tackles and strong tackling as well. In fact, the only defender for us. But then, if you was to ask me, come into my stream, who's the weakest defender, who's the weak link, it's the left back. But that's only because I've seen just in split moments of him just missing a tackle. At least he's attempted it, but he's missed the tackle, and I'm like, oh well, that's the weak link, because I've only seen that. I've seen that once. We've conceded one goal. How did we concede? It was left back. But then when I go to the data, it's not necessarily that, and sometimes it could be played before that you could have prevented, that your left back didn't need to make that tackle necessarily. But it's always good to look at the data hub, because sometimes it can play tricks on you, especially when you look at the average rating. I used to be a sucker for average rating. Oh, he's played good. His average rating is 7.84. Oh, he's bad. He's bad. But then when you go into the data, maybe that guy that's got a 6.89 or whatever it is actually doing what he's doing, or what he's supposed to do. He's not doing that above extra stuff. He's not getting a 5 assists and a 10 goals. But he's stopping all the counter-attacks. Yeah. But then the winger, he's getting a 7.9 whatever, because he's getting assist and the goal. But he might have not got that assist and the goal if it weren't for the DM. So you kind of have to add that sort of context, and you've got to... And this is why I love Football Manager, because there's many ways of playing it. You can totally just use the average rating. Just search for players that are on form. You can totally do that. Or you can totally just use data. Okay, he's made a lot of tackles. His rating might not be great, but he's not actually failing in any of the statistics. So that's why I love playing Football Manager.
Again, you say there's loads and loads of different ways to do it, and data, by the way, is absolutely another episode in the future, because we can talk about this for days, right? Because it's like everything. It's you interpret it however you want it to be, right? Now, say for example, you don't want to go down the data route. Okay, say like you're maybe quite new to the game, or maybe that's just not how you play it. You just want to get in and just get it done. This is why we always advocate, when you start a new save, pick a team that you know. Pick a league you're familiar with, because then, of course, you'll be planning with players in mind that you already know about. Like Steve, you're starting there with Everton. You will already know, first of all, what the Everton players are like from your own perspective on that. You'll know the players that are in the Premier League. You'll know the players that Everton could possibly attract, and you'll know the sort of football you want to play. So therefore, you're already going, well, actually, I want a player like X, Y, and Z. So that already means that you don't necessarily have to have the data hub. And you don't necessarily have to be looking at the data and those stats. You can just go straight into to player search, or manually just type those names into the search and go, you know what, I want this guy. So blah 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 blah. And
especially because as well, like the start for a new save, the data hub doesn't kick in until 3 games onward. So it's great.
It doesn't have last year's data in either. So
exactly.
Which of course is how clubs recruit in real life. They already know how those players played last year. So that's why the data episode is going to be so much fun. And we can talk about skins that have got data in them and everything, and all the bits and pieces that you just go, I never knew that existed. Oh, it exists. It exists, right? So you can do it that way. So remember, of course, there's always ways to make this game easier for you. And Director of Football can offer you suggestions as well if you don't know. So say, for example, you don't know how to search for a left wing back.
Yeah.
You could simply go to your Director of Football search, Aaron, and you could, which I believe is on transfers. Transfers. Then you click Director of Football at the top. Little drop down, suggest signing, and then that's either signing for a free transfer, a loan, an actual transfer, end of contract. Maybe you're planning for next season, Steve. Who's available under contract? And then you click on the position, on the position, and then you click the little downward arrow next to it, and that takes you to the role. So you can be incredibly specific about what you want. Now, I will caveat that with not all the time does your Director of Football A, bring back someone useful, or B, bring back someone at all. So there is that to think about.
So there is another thing, because you do want to save this for scouting, so we will save it for scouting, but it's a very quick method, just like Director of Football. So you can actually go to your scouting on your left-hand side. So in my mind, I want an attacking left back. So you can go scouting on the left-hand side and then go to recruitment focus, create new recruitment focus, and then here it will pop up with positions that you want to find. I can just very quickly go to left back and then go to further details on the right-hand side. Click add, scroll down, analysts and stats, attacking, and then here I can look at, there's things like assist, so I can just go for expected assist or open play passes, key passes, sorry, and then just press confirm. And then generally, I will get a few left backs who are creating in the game, and that's through data. So if you want to approach it through data, you don't necessarily have to search by data. You can still search by data through the recruitment focused.
Lovely.
And speaking of, one final thing, sorry, just on the squad planner general like recruitment thing too, which is really handy from squad planner perspective, is that you might have, for example, with Everton, one of the, as we spoke about in the previous episode, one of the board objectives is bring through young players, youth prospects.
That's where I was about to go, Steve.
Oh, there we go.
So you want to be looking, because it's all well and good looking for the here, the right now, but you might have some youth prospects. We've mentioned you can plug them into the squad planner. So it's always worth hitting that development center button right at the bottom on that left-hand side. And again, if you're not familiar with the side, you'll click that development center button. It brings it up. It gives you a bit of a hint as to who the best players in your youth setup might be. And they'll give you a little bit of like, hey, this guy's going to be as good as this guy, or this guy's going to be the best player that's ever walked the face of the earth, or hey, you know what, we're going to struggle in the future. Like, you might get a bit of those. And then you can sort of have a bit of a nosy about there. And then if you click the actual under 18s, under 19s, under 21s tab along the top as well, you can see all of the players within those youth squads. And Steve, use them until your heart's content. Have a little nose around. That can again give you an idea as to how much focus you need to have on a specific position. Because you might think, you know what, I'm going to drop £10 million on a striker. You might not need to. You might have a young up-and-coming striker in there that just needs a year's worth of development.
I mean, unless I do genuinely get $6 million from Michael Keane, who, by the way, based on this conversation, I then put on the transfer list because I don't need him. I've got depth there to move that money around. Ditto Andrew.
If you can get £6 million for Michael Keane, get it gone now. Via the transfer room now, Steve, on FM24.
So speaking on the youth, bringing in the youth and inviting them and introducing them to the squad planner. The squad planner is really your squad. So you can actually plan your development here as well. So again, we're just going to go for an example. In my under 18s, I've got a player called Filippo Cabrini. Now, he's obviously currently not good enough to play in the first team, but what I can do is actually start planning when I can introduce him. So you've got current season, you've got next season and season after. Now, I know he's currently not good enough to play for us in the first season, but next season, this is when we can kind of introduce him into the fourth spot, so we can add him, go to my under 18s attackers. I believe he's an attacker anyway. He wasn't even an attacker, he was a midfielder. There we are. Filippo Cabrini, and then I can add him. Now he's fifth. And then in the season after, I can start to move him higher up. And then this sort of tells me, I don't have to stop his development. I don't have to bring in a striker. Then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, damn it. I'm supposed to give him a certain amount of games, but I've just brought in a striker as well. So you can actually stop yourself making that mistake as well and having a clear pathway. That's probably the right term. Have a clear pathway, development pathway for your youth players. And a squad planner is also a way to go there. And I must apologize as well, because when I was speaking about that recruitment focus, you don't actually have to remove or go out of the squad planner. So in a squad planner, there's actually create a new focus there already for you on the right-hand side. And you can actually just do it from that page as well. So that's another fantastic addition to the squad planner.
Excellent. Well, as always, there's so much we can chat about. We haven't even scraped the surface, okay? So let's put a little cap on that for this week, okay? We'll come back to some more specifics as we roll on. But before we do that, let's move into the mailbag, because that is also bursting at the seams. And we're going to jump straight in. Aaron, it's not just the mailbag that's been popping off, YouTube and Discord as well.
Oh, yes. And I think they're all waiting for the community challenge, aren't they? So we have Jeremy Parente, 1033 in YouTube even. And he said, call me a madman, but I really love to see you guys do a collaborative save just for YouTube. I think that would be fun. And I actually do not disagree. I want to see them do an online career so badly. Do a smaller league like Canadian Premier League. That would be actually hilarious, because none of us actually know the rules. So it would be us trying to figure out the rules, making mistakes, and just having to go at each other.
I did the Canadian Premier League last year, but that does not give me an advantage.
Well, I've been to Canada, so I don't know if that gives me an advantage. And
I've got a tub of Tim Hortons coffee in the house. I'm clearly winning the league. French Vanilla Latte FC is a go.
Yeah, Tim Hortons, that's this hockey player, ex-Canadian hockey player who kind of then also went into like Starbucks / Costa style things. There's one somewhere near on the way to Norwich as well, randomly at Tim Hortons, which is a weird.
Yeah, we got one in
fairly
random
close.
locations. There's one near my mum's in the northeast. If anyone from Tim Hortons is listening, by the way, we'll happily drop an advert in. So send us French Vanilla Lattes.
And speaking on the community challenge, Jeremy Parente and Tyler weren't the only ones questioning us. We also have Daniel Woodlock on YouTube, FM show Network Save in Gibraltar, please. And we've also got a message in the Discord. When are you going to launch a challenge, roughly? Should we be expecting one immediate? Why do I struggle to say that? Thank you. That was me, people. So if you're not watching on YouTube, that was me talking. Or you're going to let the launch breathe a bit first. So I think we will let the launch breathe a bit first and let people actually get familiar with the game before we start throwing in challenges.
Yeah, exactly. Challenges are a bit later on in the sort of save cycle, aren't they? When, you know, you've kind of, I've done my first save, done my second save, what should I do now sort of thing. That's kind of what we're thinking in terms of, you know, when they're fun for. We're still in the kind of getting used to it first thing. So there's no rush.
Also, we need people to join us on FM24 as well, of course. You know, we've got people who are still on FM23, FM22. So if you haven't joined us on FM24, use the link in the description below. Come and get yourself signed up.
These comments are driving the hype as well. So if you do have a challenge request, still keep, even though we're telling that we don't want to do it now, but you lot are driving the hype and we are obviously getting excited for it as well. So keep with those recommendations coming.
Where would you like them to send those recommendations, Aaron?
The fmshotpoll@gmail.com.
Nobody knows the email or the social media links for this place, man. Oh God. I'm amazed we get any correspondence.
You knew that was going to happen as well. So
I was hoping you'd just say Twitter or Discord or something. Send it via the FM email at email.com.
The Gmail is the fmshowpod@gmail.com. That's the fmshowpod@gmail.com. But you can also follow us on YouTube, Twitter, and all of that. And Patreon as well is all the FM Show Pod.
It is indeed. And Steve, big shout out, by the way, for yourself on YouTube, at Matty Aqua, has said, Producer Steve taking on the Everton job. Big thumbs up. I like this.
Thank you, Matty. That's very kind. We'll see how it goes. I mean, slightly annoyingly, one of the temptations of making a save good is that IRL, the club is doing badly. Therefore, you think, how bad can I make it? But Everton have won like 6 games out of the past 7. So
pressure's on you now. Pressure's on you.
And I don't want to play the way Sean Dyche is playing as well. So he's making it work, and he's doing a great job with the resources available to him.
He really is.
You know,
more important, you're going to have to elbow Dyche out of the hot seat as well. That doesn't feel right, surely.
I've already set. We'll get into tactics, RDF, in a future episode too, in terms of how you then decide on the new save, etc. I kind of want to do vertical tiki-taka with Everton. I feel like I'm just... I don't want to play another way, but I also know that I don't have the squad of players for it. So it's going to be really fun to see how that tension arises. Anyway, thank you very much, Matty. It's very kind.
I want the camera to zoom in on all the fans just sat with arms folded going, what on earth is this nonsense?
Hey, look, it's a school of science, Everton. The Everton way, they've got to find history, find football, the Everton way. Anyway, thank you very much for that, Matty. We'll see how it goes. Finally, for today, an email. So someone did manage to email the fmshowpod@gmail.com, the fmshowpod@gmail.com. And that someone was Tom Holohan. So thank you very much, Tom. The subject is player roles. Dear Tony, Aaron, and Steve, love the podcast. So not only did Tom get the email, also knows that if you pander to our egos, you pay the toll, you will proceed. And Tom has done here. So well done. Please, could you do an episode on all of the player roles in FM24? Because I'm new to FM. Well, welcome, Tom. And I'm a bit puzzled by all of these player roles like the Tricotista and the Enganche. Thank you very much, Tom. So the answer to that, Tom, is yes.
Yeah. Yes.
And
I think also maybe a tiny bit more of sort of talking about the misconceptions about some of the roles as well. Because some people ain't going to touch it because they think a special defensive or pressing winger, as Tony likes to say, that huge misconception, which I would love to talk about in that tactical episodes.
I mean, what we could even do, to be honest with you, when it comes to positions, there's so much to go into. We could even divide it. Again, I'm doing the on-air production meeting as we go. We could even divide
huddle,
it.
Boys, huddles up.
Yeah. We could divide it.
Right, you're taking wing backs, right? Okay, you're taking wing backs. if you see deep line forward, come deep. You're on him straight away. Right, get him.
Yeah, exactly that. Exactly. Win your jewels. We could do defenders in one mini section, midfielders in one, because there's so, and actually even then pick the particularly tricky roles to go through because there is so much there. But so yeah, it's a great idea, Tom. So we'll do either an episode or multiple episodes on just that. So thank you.
I think we absolutely will be doing that. So thank you very much, of course, for everyone who has got in touch. You know how to find us, apparently, because we don't. Okay, so fire us, hit us up via Twitter, Discord, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, all the places, the FM Show Pod. Of course, emails are thefmshowpod@gmail.com. Thank you so much, of course, for listening, watching. Hope you've enjoyed it. That was episode number 19 in the can of the FM Show, hosted by myself, Tony Jameson. Our co-host was Aaron Falloon, aka RDF Tactics. Our producer is producer Steve Hankey. Take care of yourselves, stay safe, and we will see you all very soon.
Marvelous.